Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Brawley City Council and successor agency to Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. This is our special meeting agenda for Tuesday, May 18th, 2021 at 5 p.m. here in City Council chambers. I'd like to have the roll call. Thank you, Alma. Okay, we're honored to have Pastor Sean Arviso from Christ Community Church Brawley campus here to give us our invocation. Let's all stand.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Before we pray, I'd just like to read a quick passage from Jesus out of Luke chapter 12, verse 48. Jesus says, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be required. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, even more will be asked." And as you all know, and those in this room, God's entrusted you with positions, and as you already know, it's a tremendous blessing and a tremendous opportunity and responsibility. And so with that being said, let's pray together. Father, I thank you so much for this moment right now. Because you allowed us to wake up today means that you're not finished with us. And Lord, the positions that you've entrusted us with, whether it's a little bit or a lot of bit, it is to be for your glory and to do things your way and to be pleasing to you. And so, Lord, I thank you for your word out of James 1:5, where if any of us lack wisdom, all we need to do is ask you with no doubting. And you promise to us, Lord, that you will pour out your wisdom liberally to us. And so, Lord, right now I just pray that you would overflow your wisdom into this room, as there's lots of problems to solve and, Lord, lots of opportunities to make the right decision. And so, Lord, I just pray your blessing over this time. We ask that in the name and for the glory of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor Sean. Councilman Nava, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly. Hand over your heart, please. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. You can be seated. Item 1 on the agenda, approval of the agenda. Do I have an approval?
So moved.
Second the
Moved
motion.
and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, moving on to item number 2, public appearances and comments, not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Are there any public comments? I'd like to start, actually, Pastor Sean, if you would come up and just tell us a little bit about what you're hoping to accomplish in Brawley.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Luke shared, he invited me today, and so thankful. What an opportunity to be here with you guys. My name is Sean Arviso. Been serving as a pastor here in the Imperial Valley for 7 years. My wife and I have been married almost 7 years. We have 2 beautiful boys. And one of the goals is quite simply just the church asking the city the very simple question, how can we serve you? And that's really as simple as it gets. And I'm sure that there's a lot of problems and a lot of things to address. And so we definitely want to have the church pull its resources alongside of you with people and other things as well to just help accomplish those things. And so this Friday, actually, Luke and I are going to be enjoying coffee together and having a meeting time to where we can brainstorm some ideas on how we can pull our resources together and ultimately improve this community overall. So, and if there's any specific questions, I'm more than happy to answer that. So.
All right.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and for praying over us. Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Good evening, Mayor Hamby, City Council members. Thank you for this opportunity. My name's Travis Lyon. I'm president of real estate operations for Priest Development Corporation. And I really just wanted to use this opportunity to give you guys a quick introduction into our company, update on some of the projects we've been working on and we're going to be working on in the future. So, Priest Development Corporation, it's a privately owned, family-owned company based in El Cajon, California. I love working there, and I love working for the guy who owns it because I work for one guy. He's a simple guy. He came from nothing. He made his way as a framer, a hammer and nails, and bought one house, saved up money, built one house, turned that into 2, turned that into 4, started building subdivisions, and over the last 30 years, we've developed or built almost 4,000 houses throughout San Diego County and now Imperial County.
Nice.
My background, I grew up, I was born and raised in Imperial County. I'm from the South End. I hope you guys don't hold it against me. But
Let's shut off his mic now, please. No, I'm kidding. Thank you. All right, thank you for your comment.
yeah, I share it. I share it because it helps explain why we're down here in Brawley, why we're building. I brought Daryl down here almost 11 years ago, and we purchased 110 apartment units on Malin. Subsequently went through and purchased 2 more dormant subdivisions, Victoria Park and Malin Park. And really, I'm proud. Over the last 5 years, we've been a consistent home builder. Built a little over 100 homes and sold. Have a couple of hundred more in the pipeline, and we're really proud of it. I feel like we build a good product. It's that type of energy brings vibrancy back to neighborhoods. And I can tell you, I've worked a number of jobs, but there's not much more rewarding than handing a new set of keys to a new family moving into their first home. So I wanted to give that update and then also share again, based on being in the Valley, it helps give me, I think, some context and understanding that, when you grow up, if you're a Spartan, a lot of Spartans want to stay in El Centro. Same thing. I feel like the opportunity in building new homes is giving a lot of Wildcats the opportunity to stay here in Brawley and be a part of their community and live here and not move down to Tiger Country or anywhere
Good
else.
point.
So,
Yeah, good
I also say that because we use all local contractors. We do all our building with local companies. We got a local general contract we work down here. Again, it's been a rewarding experience, and we've had a great opportunity to work here in your city. Last thing I want to give you guys is just an update. We're really excited and eager to get going on the next project, which is more of a public works project, and it's a condition of our subdivisions, and that's going to be the extension of Wildcat Road from Walmart into our subdivisions. Again, I think this is a great improvement for the community and for the city of Brawley. I think it's going to improve circulation, hopefully remove some of that bottleneck at Malin and 86, and just provide a connection between that commercial center and those residential communities. So we're all set, ready to go. And with that, again, I want to thank Tyler. We worked really well with your city mayor, your city manager, and all your departments. And with that, if you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. If you ever want to come out and take a look at the projects, we'd be happy to give you a tour. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up and sharing that. We appreciate it.
Anyone else?
And we will take you up on the
Yeah.
offer to visit, so, thank you. Yeah.
We like hearing good things about Tyler. It offsets some of the bad things. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
One of those bad jokes. No, that was
Yeah.
okay, George.
Yeah.
Tyler's always.
Behave yourself, Mr. Hamby.
Any other public comments? No? Yes? Okay. Moving on to item number 3, the consent agenda. Items are approved by one motion. Council members, did I skip something?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I did, huh?
Yeah.
2D,
introductions.
there's so many extra letters in here that we don't do anything with other than read. Item 2D is introduction of Desi Rodriguez, library manager. This will be done by Tyler Salcido, our city manager, and Brandy Rodriguez, utility billing clerk, by Carla Romero, our finance director and city treasurer.
Come on up. Thank you, Mayor. I have the pleasure of introducing, I'll be introducing both of them,
Okay.
our newest additions this evening. First up is our brand-new library manager, Desi Rodriguez. Started yesterday, so I expect a full report on everything tomorrow morning. That's up to speed. And about 8 a.m., please.
Every book, yeah, right?
Every
book. Yeah.
Desi he's born and raised in Brawley. Played high school basketball for the Brawley Wildcats. Graduated Cal State Northridge with a BA in history, and just this December graduated with a master's in library and information sciences from San Jose State University. He did stand-up comedy for a few years. His last stop, he was taught and coached at Chime, which is located in the San Fernando Valley. Assisted the school librarian as well, and he has a 10-year-old daughter named Chloe, and he's thrilled to be back in Brawley with family and friends.
All right.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Tyler, for the introduction. I'm thankful for the city. Sorry. I'm thankful.
Basketball player.
I know, right? Hey,
I'm thankful for the city for entrusting me with this opportunity. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait for the challenges to provide the library service to the city of Brawley. When I saw this opportunity to come back home, I had to jump on it. It was a no-brainer, and I'm glad I'm here. Yesterday was my first day, and when I walked on City Hall, everybody was so welcoming and inviting and just made me feel like, yes, this is where I need to be, and I'm thankful for all of you guys. And I'd like to give a little special thanks to Chris for helping me transition and the library staff. Thank you, everybody.
Deal.
Thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you, Desi. It's probably a good thing that you have some stand-up comedy
You can help the mayor.
experience because sometimes
yeah.
those library board meetings, you need to have a sense of humor to be in those.
Define sense of humor, that's why I'm a librarian now.
Good deal. Well, welcome aboard.
All right.
We're
Thank
very
you.
grateful to have you. I've been telling everybody I talk to about this that this year, we've been blessed. We are just building an A team of city leadership that we feel is really going to propel us forward this year and into the next to put us in a position that we'll be better off coming out of COVID than we were going into it. So thank you for coming on board. Anybody else?
Yeah, the first time I met Desi, so you guys did a show here at the Adult about 15 years ago. I'll never forget that show. Into it, and then he says in the middle of it, by the way, the only two folks in the room that aren't laughing, those are my parents. I'm sorry. They were shocked. It was the first time they heard him do stand-up.
Yeah.
And he was welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
If I could share a comment, welcome aboard. Happy for you, excited for you. You're joining a really dynamic team. I'll tell you, we've been building it, and it's getting stronger. You're part of that, so welcome. And then you're also San Jose State. Spartan.
State, yeah.
You know what's up.
Spartans.
So yeah.
Spartans, yeah.
So that's cool, man. You're already a plus in my book. So there we go.
All right.
And
Yeah.
Congratulations to you and your family and your daughter.
Thank you.
And welcome aboard.
Appreciate it, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes. Congratulations for coming on board with us. We appreciate that. The library is a strong part of the social web of this community,
Yeah.
and it's there all the time, and a lot of the kids utilize it. A lot of the community utilizes our library. My mother was a big fan of the library, always was, and so I've always been a very strong supporter of the library and its activities. So look forward to work with you on that, and we'll talk some more.
Great, thanks.
And Sam still has some fines from
Yeah, I
back in the day.
still have some
so
books.
It's accumulating, so you might want to check in.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
look
the
him up.
number one purchaser at the library book sales.
Well, he brings the
So
biggest bag. They
just
say
so you know.
$1 a bag, and he brings the biggest bag. You know what I mean? So it's like
He does. Yes, you're welcome aboard, and just thrilled. Again, we're fortunate. We don't always, maybe even in a candidate pool, land somebody that in particular would even be from the community. So just to have that over and over, I can tell you right now, everybody is certainly thrilled. And as you already know, there's quite a bit of experience there with the board.
Yes.
A lot of perspective and a lot of wisdom there. So I think bringing kind of the fresh ideas and concept mixed in with the great experience, I expect we should see some great things happen. We're all proud of our library, and look, even through the toughest of times when it was closed down for obvious reasons, I think in the community's heart we knew that when we came out of that one way or the other we would have to proceed, but to come out better than ever, excited about that. I think it's inarguable that it's the best looking library, and then as far as the library system, many of us argue it's the best library in Imperial County, so you'll fit right in. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Desi.
Thank you, Dizzy.
When I met him in person on Monday, I said, man, he's a lot taller than he was on Zoom. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true. The camera was loving.
All right. Come on
okay,
up, Randy.
next up, we have Brandy Rodriguez, no relation, right? Okay.
No relation.
She's been with us a couple months now. March, yeah. She's a utility billing accounting assistant in the finance department. She comes to the city with 21 years of local water billing experience, experience. Both Brandy and her children have attended school in Brawley and are lifelong residents of the Imperial Valley, and she has just hit the floor running over there. She has all that experience and works well with customers. I'm already getting good reports. There is one story that I would like to share, however, with council is on an employee's first day, they have to come over and meet with Shirley, our personnel administrator, and first thing in the mornings, get them all onboarded. So I was talking with Shirley, it was early, and Brandy walks up to the door. So I opened the door, and she asked, "Hey, I'm here to see Shirley." I said, "Sure, right this way." So she went in, did her thing with Shirley, and then walked over to finance. Well, in finance, we've had a little thing that we do is when somebody comes on board, we ask for their first impressions of everybody that they've met. So I come to find out from finance, little birdies, they were asking her, "Hey, so what'd you think of the new city manager? Did you meet him over there?" And they're describing me to her and what's going on. And she's like, "Oh, that's the city manager? I thought he was the janitor."
Hey,
With that,
that's accurate, right? Hey, that's accurate. There you go. Right? You know? Hey, wow.
No wonder you cleaned up so well.
Hey, yeah.
Look at
Right?
today. He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
That's good.
First of all, hello. I do want to clarify, no judgment over janitor, city manager.
right.
It's just,
The same thing.
it was early, and I did say good morning, and he kind of looked at me. Okay, open the door. I'm like, okay, it's early. It was quiet. I'm like, I was a janitor, and then when they told me, I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. So, and I'm still hearing about that.
There you go. Yeah, again tonight. Yeah.
It's fine.
Fantastic.
So very honored to work for the city of Brawley. I have worked in the past for Hidalgo School when I was going to IVC. Like Tyler said, I went to school here. My children are also going to school here. Very excited and grateful to join the finance team. And I just want to thank them and everybody else for being patient, because I ask a million questions, so which is good to ask, but
Yeah.
Sure.
still.
Absolutely.
Right on.
Well, good. Welcome to the finance department. We're grateful to have you. It's, this year is pivotal for finance, and with all the COVID stuff for one thing, but just onboarding a new software system and, hitting the ground running with the whole budget cycle. So we appreciate you coming on when you did, and I think we're lucky to have you, but you're lucky to be here too, because Carla's is a great director, finance director. Tyler's awesome city manager, so you're here just the right time.
Thank you.
So
Yes,
welcome.
they've all been wonderful. I'm excited to learn the new system. I've already been, telling everyone, you know what, this is going to be for the better, less time. So we're all up for it.
Good deal.
That's awesome. Welcome aboard.
Yeah,
So
thank
happy
you.
to see
Thank
you
you.
here. With Desi, but it's been 2 months. Were you punishing her for those comments? Either way, welcome aboard. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
Brandy, great story actually there, Tyler. But just as you're hearing, even before of how excited we are going into even some of the most difficult at times, but not only making the best of it, but we're very, very confident that the future really looks bright. And the reason for that is just the team. That's a combination of all the experience that's been here for many, many years coming together with some of the fresh perspectives. So excited to have you on, and welcome, Brandy.
Thank you.
Just a couple of statements. Was he wearing his jeans and boots? Because that might have been the giveaway.
I
right
believe
there.
it was jeans.
It was jeans,
Yes.
see, and so that. And did he introduce himself? That's the other question.
Actually, no.
See, and
So
there.
that-
So I rest. I think you can really blame him for all of that.
Right.
But I did mention to Tyler, and I told him, you know what, this all goes back to assuming. And I told
Yes.
him, oh, that's why it's not good to assume
No,
anything.
don't assume
like
anything.
I said, nothing wrong with any type of position, but
Yeah.
We learned a long time ago not to assume anything in Brawley, because there's a lot of wild stuff that goes on here in Brawley. But congratulations on the position. Look forward to seeing you over there. I know you'll do a fine job, and we look forward to working with you. We do need good people in finance.
Thank
So
you.
it's always a good thing.
Cool. Well, welcome aboard, Randy. Congratulations on your new role, and I want you to keep that excitement, just like Desi. I want you to keep the excitement of starting a fresh new job. Brawley is going through some changes, and they're positive changes. You have the city council is very excited about things, and we need everybody to do a very good job and be committed to public service, because that's what we are. We're public servants. So just stay committed to that. You know, finance is one of those high-touch positions where you're going to encounter a lot of people. Yes. But remember, you're the first and last impression that you leave. Oftentimes, they don't interact with us. They interact with you. And so you are representing everyone here as a city employee. So just remember that, you know, and keep that enthusiasm, stay positive. And, you know, I know sometimes it's easy to burn out at positions, but the messaging that I want, not just for you, but for everybody, is that we are here to serve the public. Let's be enthusiastic about it. Things are starting to open back up. You know, we have Parks and Rec, we have library services, we have other departments that are opening back up. And quite honestly, it's our responsibility as public servants to make sure that we make the best impression to the public, because ultimately we work for them, yes. Right? And so congratulations on your role. Keep that enthusiasm. And, you know, certainly I would agree with you. Tyler does look like a janitor some days. And no offense to janitors, I should say that, you know. So, again, thank you and congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Mayor, I believe we have one resident that would like to public comment.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
The only thing I'm getting asked, we received a letter from across the street, my son's hardware, said that if we don't install a backflow valve, that they're going to turn him off on the 29th. And all we have is a toilet and a wash basin, and you know we can't drink Brawley water.
Right.
So I don't understand why, because it says all new construction are doing it, but that building's been there for 50 years. Mm-hmm. And I just wondered if, is that a new rule you guys are doing now to small businesses, which would apply to all of us now?
We'll address that. I'm not familiar with the issue, but I would agree in that if a backflow preventer isn't necessary, it wasn't necessary for my own building because it is an office space. Mm-hmm. And so if staff can look at that, I'd appreciate it. Yeah.
That's the only thing. I kind of figured, well, the building's been there for about 50 years.
I would agree.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Tony,
you for
what's the
bringing
name
that
of
up.
What's the name of the business?
It's right across the street.
Yeah, just
hardware.
The hardware.
I told him to name it Desert Builder, but he didn't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
done right. Done right.
Done right. That's what I just couldn't remember.
Done right.
Okay. No other comments. We'll move on to item 3, consent agenda. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Moving on to item 4, the reason we're all here tonight, the Enterprise and Special Funds Workshop. We will review, discuss, and provide additional direction on the 2021-2022 preliminary proposed budget study session. This will be presented by our Finance Director and City Treasurer, Carla Romero, and our Public Works Director, Guillermo Cias. The backup is on pages 14 through 114. We're going to go page by page.
We are.
In detail. In detail.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Thank you so much. Again, back for show number 2 on the budget. This particular budget study session will be done by myself and, as you mentioned, Guillermo Cias, and then, of course, our city manager, Tyler Salcedo, is always available to answer any questions as well. This will not be a page turner. We will stick to high-level discussions, kind of what's changed from last fiscal year, and go through the pages. I will reference the pages as we go along, and we will try for the public to put the presentation up on the screen so they can follow along as well. So, let's see here. Get the next slide. Perfect. So today's presentation is actually going to focus on 35 different funds. So it'll be a combination of a budget study session / accounting class, but I will try not to bore you. Total revenues that we will be discussing today are a little bit over $24 million, with total expenses of about $26.2 million. And we'll talk about some fund balances because we'll be utilizing those to cover the expenses over the revenues for those particular funds. These particular funds are either restricted or intended to be restricted for special purposes. And so that's the reason that we do these study sessions apart from the general fund study sessions. So within these funds, we have 26 special funds, and these cover things such as road improvements, assessment districts, development impact fees, housing programs, and other grants, particularly associated with the police department. Then we have what are called 4 enterprise funds. These are business-related funds that capture revenues and expenditures for our water, wastewater, solid waste, and airport operations of the city. Then we have 2 capital improvement program and major equipment funds. And what we did this year is we gave you a 5-year program with year 1 being funded in next year's budget. We also have 2 internal service funds, and these are interdepartmental services provided within the city to each one of the departments or each one of the entities that we'll be describing. Then we do have 1 fiduciary fund, and it's the successor agency to the Brawley Redevelopment Agency, so we'll end with those discussions tonight. So let's talk a little bit about these special funds. And again, just high-level overview of these. So we'll start with the gas tax fund. The gas tax fund revenue projections are located on page 22, and the expenses are located on page 50. Of course, today, as I was finalizing the presentation and these documents were finalized last week, the state of California issued us revised revenue projections. And they're a little bit lower, unfortunately, than what the initial projections were. And so this slide, or the next study session on June 1st, will give you the revised projections. They're actually a 7% increase versus an 11%. And so the increase will be $78,847 in revenues when compared to this year. And so, again, that just illustrates how dynamic this budget is and how there are moving parts associated with it. We do intend to adopt the budget on June 15th, but also intend to give you quarterly updates to reflect those changes as the city is made aware of them as well. This particular revenue source is also highly associated with population. As you all know, we had a census last year. We aren't expecting a big fluctuation based on that, but every January the state does revise these projections based on gas tax rate, usage, and also those population projections. These particular funds are used for road maintenance. Some city staff that works on road and road improvements are also included within the CIP plan for this particular fund. The fund balance is $1.8 million, so this is one of those funds where the expenses are a little bit higher than the revenues because of the CIP program, and so we will be utilizing a portion of that fund balance. And what fund balance means is it's just savings, basically, from previous years that we've accumulated and are carrying forward to utilize for those major construction projects. You need to have the money in the bank in order to do those, and so it's typical for cities to have some fund balance left over each year. The next one is your highway relinquishment fund. Those revenues are located on page 23 and the expenses on page 52. As mentioned at the last study session, the fund balance in that particular fund is about $6.8 million. We do have a $40,000 expense allocated to a traffic signal assessment that will be done along Main Street in the next fiscal year to determine what upgrades are needed, or if any upgrades are needed for the traffic signal synchronization of Main Street. Then we have Fund 213, which is our Senate Bill 821, Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Transportation Fund. Also incorporated resolutions within the consent calendar tonight regarding the use of these funds. The city is performing some bus shelter cleaning services utilizing these funds, and of course the CIP program also includes some expenses. And again, the fund balance here is about $480,000. Then we have Fund 215, which is Measure D. Revenues are located on page 26 and expenses on page 55. Revenues are derived from sales tax, and they are expected to increase, just like our regular general fund sales tax that we discussed the last study session. And again, these are geared towards road improvements and projects within the CIP plan. And I'm not talking about the CIP plan because Guillermo's going to enlighten us with all of the wonderful things he'll be doing later on in the study session. So I don't want to steal his thunder. And then Fund 222, which is the Law Enforcement Grant Fund. We capture 4 different grants. Revenues are located on page 27, expenses on page 56. The total of these grant funds is $408,682. And they're for specialized purposes. They're for police overtime, special assignments, some specialized equipment or upgrades of equipment for police-related services, and then also traffic offender monitoring or DUI checkpoints is another way to explain that. Any questions on these before I move on? No. You can always come back to. So next slide, thank you. So just continuing on with our special revenue funds, funds 242 through 248 are our assessment districts that the city has. There are 7 total assessment districts. We are reinstating the 2% CPI increase in the rates that was waived last year, but we are not retro adjusting those rates. So in other words, we're not doing a 4%. We are always going to be that 2% behind at this point in time. And I did get the formal documents from the consultant to try to bring those back at the next study session for ratification. Sorry, the next council meeting for ratification. Sorry. And then we also have funds 251 through 460. These are our development impact fee funds. Before, all of these used to be in one fund, Fund 451. It was a really, really long fund, and each one of the departments or any times the capital improvements wanted to be done, they had to call finance and say, finance, what's my balance? And so in order to segregate those and have a lot more transparency, we separated out all of those funds and we gave each one of the development impact fees their own fund. And so that's why you're seeing a multitude of funds now. Again, no rate increases anticipated within these development impact fees. However, we do want to do an analysis of the fees this coming fiscal year. The reason for that is because the last analysis was done in 2011. And a reassessment of these citywide fees through the build-out of the city allows us to look at what are the current city's needs. How are the fees being utilized? Doesn't necessarily mean the rates will change. It just means that we can do a reassessment and reconfigure what it is that we're utilizing those for. And so there are some expenditures incorporated within these funds for that particular purpose. Any questions on those? Okay, perfect. So we'll talk a little bit about our enterprise funds. Remember, these are the 4 business type funds that the city has. And one of the reasons that I was so excited to be your finance director is because this is such a robust city and provides these citywide services that are mostly always contracted out in other agencies. So our Fund 501, which is our Water Enterprise Fund, is the revenues are on page 79 and the expenses on page 87 through 89. The city currently services 5,864 accounts. And as Brandy mentioned, we have a high traffic, but we're happy to provide that customer service. The Water Enterprise Fund captures both the rates, the revenue, and the expenditures associated with the treatment and distribution of our potable water for the city of Brawley. We do anticipate at some point, maybe January, after a lot of communication and disclosure and some state guidance and updates, to have to reinstate some of our delinquent fees and charges for services. We are working really closely with customers, trying to get them all caught up, doing payment plans, trying to avoid any of these late fees. And as long as the customer is on an active payment plan, those fees can be waived. Of course, before any of that is done, we would have lots of communication in advance of that. No rate changes are anticipated for our water rates, however. On the expense side, what we're seeing is our Public Works Department did ask for a new water distribution pre-treatment department in order to segregate those particular functions that were combined with one of the other departments. So now you have 3 departments within the water fund. So it just makes it easier for them to distinguish where those expenses are going and how they're allocated. So we were happy to do that for them within this new budget. All of the debt service payments that are paid with the water fund are incorporated into this particular fund. We do have some good news. We have 2 State Water Resource Control Board loans that are being paid off next fiscal year. So then those will be going away. We also have one that will be left over and is maturing in 2024 for the Municipal Finance Corporation. And that was an original 2011 California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank funded project. And we do anticipate, just as a general fund, to have some changes in the cost allocations within each one of these enterprise funds. Then we have our wastewater fund, Fund 511. The revenues are located on page 81 and expenses on pages 91 through 93. Again, the Public Works Department asked us to create a new department within this fund, and we were happy to do so for the same purposes as the water fund. And all the debt service payments are also allocated within this fund that utilize this funding source to pay for those. Again, we have another loan that is being paid off here from the, I promised no acronyms last time, from the California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank. So that is being paid off, and then we'll have one that matures in 2032 for the State Water Resource Control Board. So lots of good news there. Then
Carla, I had one question about
Yes.
has there been any progress or any further movement on COVID relief for utility billing and that kind of stuff? Have people taken advantage of those at all?
We are working closely with our Community Development Department in order to get that re-advertised. So we'll be doing another bill insert to try to get more people to take advantage of that prior to doing any type of turnoffs or, in delinquencies or anything of that nature. But we are seeing people. We have a lot of people coming in for payment plans, and so we'll continue to push that message as well.
Any of the funding that we received or will receive, is any of that eligible to help some more folks pay for those utility bills?
That is a great question. I am hoping that the answer is yes. So we'll talk about it a little bit, but we did get some guidance on the American Rescue Plan. It's a mere 191 pages to read through, and so we're hoping within that we are able to utilize some of that funding to help residents if need be. But I'm not sure at this point. Thank you. Good question.
Carla, if I may.
Yes.
Just as a refresher, as it relates to utility billing, delinquent bills, we've had the county at the end of last calendar year had sent some of their CARES Act money over that we used to help pay some of those to those that were interested. I think we ended up with 32 or so accounts, 40 accounts. And also, we're in the process of working through the grant that came in for the senior citizens. It's $150,000 rough figures that will be running through the finance department as well to apply to get those utility bills down.
When will that be applied, and how are we going to advertise that?
So we'll be doing website updates. We'll be doing a bill handout or bill insert. We can do some social media push outs. Would certainly bring an update here to the council meeting as well.
When will the other part of the question is when?
I believe it's available now. We just need to go ahead and implement the paperwork and push that out.
Okay,
So,
good. Yeah,
yes.
because I know I had inquired about it several months back with Tyler. I know it took a long time to get through, and there's still inquiries, so I need to circle back and make sure that people do.
We're hoping to put a bill insert in the June bill.
Okay.
Yes.
But you plan on promoting it prior to that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
If you could let us know when that happens, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it. Yes. So where were we at here? Solid waste. So solid waste is Fund 521. The revenues are located on page 84 and the expenses on page 96. This is where the collection and disposal of trash is allocated, those revenues and those expenses. There are no major changes to report. The services are contracted through Allied Waste. since 2006. The contract does expire with Allied Waste in September 1st of 2026. And they also provide the street sweeping services for the city as well. Then we have our airport fund. It's Fund 531. Revenues are located on page 85 and expenses on page 97. We do have 63 accounts within the airport, which I was surprised to hear about. It sounds like it's a very active airport, even though it's a small municipal airport. So we're happy to provide that service to those that need it. There is one minor edit that I will be making as well with these revenues. I inadvertently missed that $36,300 that's in the CIP plan, and so that will be included in the next budget study session within this fund. Again, no rate changes here and no major changes to report, and Guillermo will be talking about the CIP improvement anticipated within the airport. So before I turn it over to Guillermo, just want to give you a high-level overview of what has changed with the CIP updates and the funding. So we do have a new format. I don't know if you noticed that. We do have a 5-year summary that is presented. Right now, year 2021 is funded and on a separate page. And then we have the proposed funding for 21-22 that has been incorporated within the budget document already. And then we have project numbers already assigned on the left of all of those worksheets. And what we will be doing with the new robust finance system that we'll be talking about later is tracking those from inception to the end of the project for each one of the funds according to that project number. The project number will typically be defined by the fiscal year or the beginning of the year. And if we add more projects throughout the year, then we'll assign it the next number. So you'll easily be able to tell when the project started. We also anticipate to provide you periodic updates, either at mid-year or during our quarterly updates or whenever bids come in for the particular projects as they progress. On the right-hand side, what you have there are the different funding sources. CIP projects require lots of funding, and they typically come from numerous sources. Then the next slide. Of course, you can't have a budget presentation without a pie chart, so I had to include that. And again, this is just the same information we have, but in a different graphical illustration. So we have 8 water projects Guillermo will be talking about, 12 wastewater projects, 8 road improvement projects, 2 equipment purchases, and 1 project for the airport. So I will take a break, and I will turn it over to Guillermo.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council. Guillermo Cias, Public Works Director. I'm going to try to explain as best as I can in summary of these many projects that we will try to accomplish during this next fiscal year. As the Finance Director mentioned on this slide, it includes 8 projects for the water treatment plant and water distribution system, 12 projects on the wastewater treatment plant and collection pretreatment division, streets improvements with 8 projects, and purchase of equipment, 2 purchases, and improvements on the airport. On this slide, it is a summary of the streets that are included in Measure D, Fund 215, being in progress right now, Legion Street Phase 3 from Kelly Avenue to the west city limits. It is currently by LC Paving being performed. The next one is the design of K Street between Highway 86 and 8th Street. And on the right side, you can see some of the components of the funds for this project. This is a portion of a grant, and also the city contributes with local funds. The next one is the same project, but the construction. And again, there's a grant component, and the city contribution that is from LTA that will be making the 100% together with the grant. The next one is 2nd Street from Mainland Street to K Street and H Street from Rio Vista Avenue to Las Flores Drive. And this includes fund from SB1 from fiscal year 1920 and 2021. Please feel free to stop me at any time and ask any questions that you have, any details that you want to know. The next one, it is 3rd Street from A Street to River Drive, and again has component from SB1 for different years. On the right side, you can see the amount that will be participating from different allocations years. On the left column, you can see the amounts that will be the 100% of the construction cost. Next one, please. This slide shows the projects that will be funded with gas tax, Fund 211. And the first one is Legion Street from the frontage road of east of Highway 86 to Western Avenue is by Walmart area, that it will be the continuation of the asphalt concrete that is existing toward the east, and includes the design portion only in this fiscal year. And on the right side, you can see the grant that we were able to obtain from CMAQ, and the remaining will be the local match from the city of Brawley. The next one is in the similar cost for Western Avenue from Legion Street to Wildcat Drive, and includes the design only. Again, is a CMAQ grant that we were able to obtain. The next one, it is a project that is being, there's no specific for this one, is just to set aside this money, maybe to do isolated project or to be a complement from some other a component of sidewalk or ADA ramps or so. And it's coming from Fund 213, the fund, it is reserved for that. The next one is been in a queue for a while, decorative lighting project. We have design ready and everything. Unfortunately, during the last year was difficult to implement, and also this grant, this is local money, so the grants, not that they have priority, but we have deadlines that we have to meet or we will lose the fund. So we were, trying to push out those first with the, and but it is in the list. The next one is a complement of this other project. The previous one, the decorative lighting project, is to include or to install flashing beacons across Main Street for the crossing. So we will try to do it before this project and before the end of this fiscal year. We were able to obtain good prices on quotes. Most likely we will do it, but I included here because it was unknown at that time. But most likely we will install them probably during this month or June.
That's only for this crossing right here in front of the
Right.
post office.
That's this one.
Right.
That's good.
This project, Wildcat Drive from Western Avenue to First Street, it is currently beginning. We had to temporarily suspend it because the IID was undergrounding the second phase of the Best Canal, and included the removal of portion that was left from the first phase of that canal undergrounding, and we couldn't start until they removed because it wasn't included in our budget because they were supposed to do it. So with that and some other installation of or relocation of electrical utilities from the IID, gas company, cable and AT&T, so we had to wait. But we are just very close to begin. Probably next week or so, we will begin the construction of this project. The next one is Water Fund 501. Includes the first project is the pumps actuators replacement. We recently awarded this project, actually the last council meeting, and we are in the process to obtain all the documents to be able to start the construction. But since we are just beginning, most likely the invoices will be on the next fiscal year, so that's the reason to include it in this coming fiscal year. The next one is rehabilitation of a water pump that is on the raw water ponds, and at estimate cost of $65,000. The next one is raw water pond liner replacement. These are very long, large ponds where they receive the raw water from the canal, from the IID, and the liner is in very bad shape, and we are afraid that we need to move quick on this one because the sun is deteriorating and fading the liner, so it's very important, but it's very expensive too. The next one is rehabilitation of a distribution pump 421. This pump is making some noises and vibrations, so we have to inspect it, and we are just estimating that could be the cost of the repair. The next one is the rehabilitation of finished water reservoirs at the water treatment plant. We have 2 of those, and this is the rehabilitation of just one. In the probably month of June, we are going to do an inspection. A diver will get into the tank and will inspect the condition, and so we will have more information about the condition of that. But we have some experience because we rehabilitated the airport tank like probably 3 or 4 years ago. So we have a very good idea of the cost of that project, because it's similar in age, so we might expect something similar. The next one is asphalt concrete patching and crack seal on the exterior of the water treatment plant. We're estimating at $40,000, but we might get some better price if we bundle this project together with a street project. So it's just, to try to preserve the asphalt on the outside of the water plant. Next one is installation of automatic flusher station at San Diego State University. Since it's at the east end of the city, where the water network ends, we have problems because there's not much flow water moving, and we have problems with the chlorine concentration, and we need to do frequently flushing, so we would like to install some station to be able to do that automatically, so we will save time and we will build a structure so the way that the water can be discharged properly. The next one is the acquisition of a forklift piece of equipment. We were using one from IBRMA that was kind of stored at the city public works yard, but they are now using it, so we need one for us because we share that between streets and utilities, parks, and other divisions that are in need of that equipment. That is very useful. Any question so far that you might have? Okay, the next one is the wastewater fund 511. Currently, we are in the process to bid out the first project, which is air conditioner units replacement on a couple of buildings at the wastewater treatment plant. But at the same time, we took advantage of this bid process and include it in other departments, units, like this building that we are right now, the water treatment plant, Parks and Recreation, Lion Center. So we included a project. So the 30,000 is just for the wastewater treatment plant units. The next one, UV or ultraviolet disinfection system replacement at the wastewater treatment plant. We have a system right now that is kind of old, but the manufacturer of this system just informed us that since the equipment is very old, they are just going to produce spare parts in the next 2 years, and later on there won't be available. So we need to move for the full replacement of the disinfection system to comply with our water board permit. So we need to start right now to do the design to be able to complete construction before they stop producing parts. So that's the kind of the urgency of this project. The next one, it is a purchase that we include annually for the same system. Let's say the same old system that requires these lamps and ballast for the UV disinfection. With the previous mentioned new project, we will be able to save money because it's a newer technology and requires less lamps and ballast replacement. Is more efficient and is smaller in size too. The next project, industrial water system pump replacement at the wastewater treatment plant. It's one piece of equipment of many equipment, that are in the wastewater treatment plant that requires replacement, which would be a little bit complicated to explain. The location is just a pump system that they require for many things that they produce there. The next one is similar, but it's a raw water pump, but requires replacement because it's old right now, and it's a small system, but still, it needs to be replaced. The next one is a utility vehicle that they use to move throughout the wastewater treatment plant to carry little things and, go from one point to other at $15,000. The next one is the replacement of a sanitary sewer line on Adler Street between 7th Street and 8th Street. And also is another line that is parallel to that on the alley south of Magnolia between the same streets that is been in queue for a while. So we would like to accomplish this year, this project replacement. The next one, it is rehabilitation of 8 manholes, 3 at Brawley Union High School, 2 at Chang Road by One Word Beef, 2 at PMH Hospital in Wat Glorian on 9th Street and Mainland Street at a cost of about $250,000. The next one is the purchase for 2 flow meters to be able to monitor the flow of the wastewater in several points of the city when we deem necessary to know the flow. The next one, it is a requirement from Department of Toxic Substances Control, is the crack seal of Wildcat Drive by Walmart between Highway 86 and Western Avenue. And hopefully we can save some money if we bundle again together with other street projects, so they just do the crack seal. The next one is the relocation of stormwater drain pipe at the corner of Main Street and Cesar Chavez, is the northwest corner, where there's problem of ponding water because the inlet that is there, it was modified and is being clogged easily, so we need to relocate that line to be able to provide the service. And the next one, it is the installation of a grease mitigation device for lift station number 2. I'm sorry, I believe that there's an error here. I apologize for that. In reality, is the installation on lift stations number 1 and 3. The number 2 was already installed with very good performance, so we want to do the same thing on lift station number 1 and 3. So I will revise this.
Guillermo, is that the same price or is that twice that amount?
No, it is the price is correct, just the description of the project is not accurate.
Thank you.
I apologize for that.
That's okay.
The next one, please, is the airport fund, 531, and it is the design of the reconstruction of the runway 826, and the amount of the design will be 363,000, and it will come from the funds from Federal Aviation, and also the 10% that is city contribution. It will be again from the same agency entitlements that we accrue every year, and we are hoping to the following year to do the construction. Any questions that you have on CIP projects or in this particular one? Okay, that concludes my participation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guillermo.
Thank you so much. Guillermo's definitely the expert. I am not an engineer, so I appreciate him coming up here and explaining these projects to you. The next slide, please. Thank you. So we're almost wrapping it up. We'll end with some internal service funds, fiduciary funds, and just kind of next steps for the next study session. So as mentioned earlier, we do have 2 internal service funds of the city. These particular revenues and expenses are located on page 107 through 111 of your agenda packet. And what internal service funds do is that they're internal agency services and cost-sharing funds. What that means is the maintenance and oversight of the citywide fleet is maintained, and part of somebody's salary is allocated here, and then they do everybody's fleet. So they order vehicles, they maintain fuel and pricing and everything, so that each department doesn't have to do it themselves, but rather there's a centralized location to do that. And that particular position is Sylvia, and she's here tonight. She'll be talking in a little bit, but she's funded through the finance. She's part of the finance department. And then for the risk management, those are our citywide insurances. They include our general liability, our property insurance, workers' comp insurance. And again, those are citywide insurances, but paid through risk management and administered through our human resources department. There is a minor decrease in the premiums associated with the expenses for next fiscal year. That savings will be incorporated into the next budget study session. And again, those are allocated within all the different, there's 9 different funds, and within the general fund. The general fund absorbs about 60% of that cost. So the savings, year-over-year savings that we're seeing is $159,675. And with 60% of that being allocated, about 60% to the general fund. That's good news. However, we are anticipating that there will be an increase in the following fiscal year in 2023. So good news, bad news, and the reason that those fluctuate are just based on claims and cases and kind of the what is happening with the city and different premiums with the insurance company as well. Next slide. Then our last type of fund that the city has is called a fiduciary fund. Back in 2012, there was this little thing called RDA dissolution, redevelopment dissolution. It was one of the largest state takeaways of public funds. These public funds were previously allocated to different cities to reduce blight, to promote economic development, and 20% housing set aside for low-income housing. All of that went away. All of that funding went away for the cities, and the state required cities to create what's called a successor agency. The successor agency receives certain tax increment money from our property taxes just for the obligations of winding down the activities of that former redevelopment agency. The agency can no longer enter into new contracts, into new debts, into new obligations. The sole purpose is to wind down what it had originally done prior to dissolution in 2012. This particular fund has oversight at different levels. You, as a city councilor, are also the successor agency board. There's oversight there. Then we go above that, and we have the county oversight board as well. And then on top of that, we also have the Department of Finance within the state. So these are highly regulated funding sources just for this particular purpose. This particular fund has one outstanding bond. It was issued back in 2006, and it was refinanced in 2016. It matures in 2037, which means that successor agency dissolution will continue until that bond is fully paid off. The outstanding balance of the bond is about $4.8 million right now. And the expenses associated with that debt service, principal, and interest in fiscal year 21-22 are $307,875. Dissolution also allows for the administration. There's administration associated with the dissolution of a redevelopment agency. We have annual bond disclosures that we have to do for this particular bond. We also have our annual ROPS, which is a recognized obligation payment schedule. We also have audits and reporting that are required. And of course, our financial statements always disclose the activities within this fiduciary fund, since it is activities of the city. And so the state does allow some allocation for those expenses to recuperate those costs for the city, and that expense is $28,100 for fiscal year 21-22. As I mentioned at the last study session, is we are going to be exploring the possibility of filing what's called a last and final ROPS. What the last and final ROPS does is it set aside the money for now until the year 2037 and allocates that funding, and we do a whole schedule from now until then. The debt service schedules are set, and then we anticipate what it is that our bond disclosures will cost. Maybe there's a minor increase, like a 3% CPI after a few years, but it also allows us to do a one-time projection until the end of 2037 versus having to do an annual reporting requirement. So it saves a lot of staff time. And again, we're not allowed to enter into any new contracts for redevelopment dissolution. And so it is something that we will be exploring coming this fiscal year. Any questions on redevelopment dissolution, fiduciary funds, or anything else that we covered?
So until 2037, then, when we open the meeting, we are going to have to say redevelopment agency, successor agency to redevelopment, whatever.
That is correct.
But 2037, you'll be here that long.
Sam might still be here by then.
I don't think so.
Do you have any reading material on that you can send back? You can send to me just a link so I can get caught up with 2012?
Absolutely,
It's still
yes.
effective.
There's this Assembly Bill ABX1-26, I believe it was, and it started back in 2011. But I'm happy to send that. Yes.
Something like breaks it down for people like me.
Yeah,
It's easy to understand. I remember the situation. It's just very difficult to understand how it all breaks down. So for me, at least.
Lots of continuity and years of reporting that's required with finance. So, yeah. Next slide, Guillermo. Sorry. Thank you. So we wanted to also include a brief update to our first study session. I won't go into much detail because we'll be talking about a lot of numbers and all of these things at the next study session. But part of the projects that Guillermo mentioned earlier, if you noticed on the CIP plan, it did say potential American Rescue Plan funding, ARP funding. We did receive, as mentioned earlier, guidance from the U.S. Treasury this week, 191 pages of tantalizing reading that I will be doing before the next meeting in order to figure out what we could utilize that funding for. But part of the projects that were described today, at least 3.8 million of those would be able to qualify for American Rescue Plan funding. But again, that would kind of allocate all the funding just for those projects. And so we're trying to prioritize and figure out what it is that we can fund with ARP money versus other priorities that the city has that we discussed at the last meeting. We also have our labor negotiations. We do have 3 associations under kind of final terms and conditions that are being signed. We are also incorporating the unrepresented employees, and those terms are being calculated as well. We do have 1 pending association. The goal would be to incorporate all of the employees that we have firm agreements with for the next study session and give you those updates. We would love to have all of them done. We will try our best. And then, as mentioned earlier, the citywide insurance premium savings will also be incorporated into those calculations. And the next slide. So what we're going to be doing to make it easy on the eyes and easy on me to explain to you all of these changes is not reiterating what it is that we did at the first 2 study sessions, but rather on June 1st. We're going to present the entire document to you again, but there'll be an additional column that says proposed 2. So you can easily tell the difference, and I can add another column that also shows the difference between 1 and 2, and you can easily eyeball that and go line by line and identify what that is.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. And again, the focus of that study session will be on those changes only. Always happy to go back and answer any questions that you may have thought of during the first 2 study sessions. But again, trying to keep them focused and targeted to what has changed and evolved during the budget study sessions. The budget is scheduled for adoption on June 15th, and that is our target, and that's what we will be doing.
Okay.
Happy to answer any other questions you might have at this time.
It was very thorough,
Yes.
but short and to the point, so thank you for that.
We appreciate that.
Thank
Carla,
you.
what would, just now that we've gone through a couple of sessions, just your perspective as finance, our, maybe kind of our, just keeping it simple, but strengths. I mean, what are you seeing that, and I just say that from the standpoint as we start to wind the budget season and we're looking at as council members, we can kind of leverage those strengths, see what, and I'm going to guess that you're going to set those sites longer term, but what's your perspective there for the city of Brawley's finances?
I think we have a lot of great wins. We mentioned a lot of them at the first study session, and then today we have some savings. But again, that long-range financial planning is going to be key, right? We have 3 debt service payments that we're eliminating with the water, 2 with the Water Enterprise Fund, 1 with the wastewater. But figuring out how do we make sure that some of those projects that Guillermo talked about, that we're actively and proactively engaging those and funding and saving money for them going forward. There's a lot of great things. We have a robust financial system. We'll be talking about that later on today. That will allow us to do a multitude of things that we weren't allowed to do before. Really track things, project code things. If you ask me a year from now, how much did, Catacall festivities cost, I can give you an exact number. I can give you a breakdown. I can tell you what vendors, how much employees cost. I mean, there's so many great things happening in finance
How many
right
beers
now.
you consumed? Can you tell us that? That's a good one,
Yes.
Yeah, right.
That is not tracked.
I know, right.
But I just see there's a lot of great momentum and progress, and I think there's a lot of wonderful things that we're collaborating a lot more internally on as well. So there's a lot of great communication within the finance department, kind of incorporating all of the other departments in order to come up with these budgets and plans and ideas, but yet be flexible in what it is that we're doing so that we can continue to pivot and adjust. COVID taught us anything is that there's going to be changes, and we just need to be able to be flexible within our budget.
And then, Carla, kind of converse to that. I mean, outside of expenditures, maybe, or revenues not keeping up with expenditures and that challenge, that's always there. Is there anything beyond that, though, for council on maybe I'm not going to call it weakness, but on the sort of caution side that...
Definitely our CalPERS rates.
Yeah.
We talked about that a lot last time, the asset liability management cycle. Those are things that are outside of our control that will continue to increase and put pressure on cities' resources. That is definitely something we're keeping an eye on, and it'll continue to evolve over the next few months. We'll have some clear direction on that come November. But that is definitely something we're looking at. We've done a great job with labor negotiations, I believe. Tyler's done amazing. And the employees understand that the city is under constraints, but we also, as a city, understand that they provide great service to the residents and want to continue to have that commitment from them.
Very good.
Carla, thank you. I applaud you, really. I mean, for your knowledge base and your experience in the short time you've been here. It's thorough, it's complete, and it's helpful to me, and I know it's helpful to the rest of council. So, good job on the presentations. I do like the fact that you keep it concise, but it's specific, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Very good job. I hope the public understands and realizes the amount of work that goes into all of this from all the departments and yourself and the city manager. I'm hoping that they understand the complexity and that they have some understanding of how much work that the city has to do in order to make all of this come together and work correctly. So I'm just hoping that they see that when they look at the presentations.
That is the hardest part, making it look easy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
take a break.
All right.
If we don't need it.
We'll take a 5-minute break before we
Take it
I'm
sooner.
watching you guys. We need a break.
I had to take it sooner.
before we move on to the rest of the meeting.
We're gonna take a little break.
Yeah.
Sam needs a
5-minute break.
6.5-year break.
I just took, I'm old as.
We're moving on to item number 5. We did wrap up number 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Item 5, the city manager report. It's a fundraising opportunity. Old library doors.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Carla and Guillermo, for that budget presentation. Truly appreciated with all the effort from you two and the staff. Believe me, I know what goes into budget prep, so it's a lot of hard work behind the scenes.
You are the city manager, right? Just confirming.
Well-
I heard earlier that, you know.
In doubt?
So now there's a lot of hats.
No comment. No comment.
So
no
now
comment.
when they see a guy with the suit and tie, I think it's the janitor.
There is an item on closed session, so I don't know. We would like to make council aware and of course get the approval of a fundraiser type situation. There's 2 old library doors. From what I gather, it was way back in the day, north entrance. They've been in our store. We're actually renting a storage from one of the local storage facilities here, and I went and checked out what was in there, and there's those 2 doors, and that's it. So we're paying $105 for this. But at the last last board meeting, library board meeting. Some of the board members have brought up an idea about the Friends of the Library taking those doors, and they believe they could raise some money for the library to auction those off. They think there'd be a lot of interest from a lot of folks that have been around in City of Brawley forever. I checked with the city attorney. Normally we have a process that of surplus, but these have no title. They're just been in storage for I don't know how many years now. So with the council's blessing, I would like to, we have a board meeting tomorrow again with the library. We'd like to proceed and move forward unless there's any objections.
They're
Not
wood,
for me.
they're
Or
wood,
questions.
right? Wood
Yeah,
doors?
they're wood doors.
Yeah, they're big. I went and looked at them, but yeah, there's 2 wood doors.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, that entrance is, I guess, not even there anymore on the plaza entrance side there. So
How long has it been in storage?
since I've been here,
Maybe before.
longer than
probably
that.
way
well
before
before
that.
Way before that. so,
Years before
That
that.
entrance has been gone for years.
Yeah,
Could have
it's-
opened that door a long time ago, brother. You know?
Yeah, yeah, should have.
Okay, yeah.
Also, thanks to Rachel, Parks Manager, and Miguel Perez and staff at Parks. I'm happy to report that we are going to, unless there's any hiccups, unforeseen hiccups, we're going to open the splash pad Memorial Day weekend.
Fantastic.
So that's a lot of hard work from Rachel and Miguel and team. Appreciate that, Rachel. That's some good news. And so,
Very good.
Let's applaud that because that's
Very
a
good.
lot of work. I know.
That's a great thing. I think for the kids.
Yeah.
Yep, and also, we have almost completed the process for our lifeguard certification. We have 3 that we believe we can onboard fully by next Friday. And the week after that, lap swim, we're going to start offering again for at City Pool. And with the full opening of the pool, we're still waiting on some guidance from our esteemed state of California. See what that June 15th stuff looks like. And I think that's the end of my city manager report that I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tyler. Thank you. Next is item 6, regular business. 6A is an update on City of Brawley declaration of local emergency as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, presented by our Fire Chief, Mike York.
Sounds like something going on.
Good evening, Mayor Hamby, members of the council and city staff. Mike York, Fire Chief. Tonight for the COVID-19 update, I just wanted to briefly share some of the things that we're facing in our locality. All of our numbers have very much plateaued. We've peaked. We've seen really no major increases or declines in any of the facets. Our hospitalizations are looking well, ICU and bed availability. We're not completely out of the woods, but we are seeing a very stable situation that's very manageable. As we move the blueprint for a safer economy, we're remaining in moderate. The expectation is, regardless of what changes are to come, we'll be in moderate until the June 15th reopening. We're starting to see some of the guidelines that we're looking at. One of the recent announcements was that at June 15th, persons that are fully vaccinated will no longer be required to wear masks is what we're looking at in terms of guidance. We're expecting a lot more along those lines. Also within the Brawley Fire EMS response, again, no major change from our last update. We're looking at about 300 calls for service since the beginning of the pandemic. Those numbers have not changed very much in the last few weeks. The COVID-19 vaccination efforts here in the Imperial Valley, which I think everybody agrees is probably our most important metric at this point. Vaccination administration is really driving all of the decision-making policy at the local and state level, especially the state and federal levels, really. Within the Imperial Valley, we've seen 124,904 doses administered, which is just an amazing amount of vaccine doses administered. It's a huge undertaking by all of the every level of healthcare provider in the valley, from the EMT all the way to doctors. Here in Brawley, we're looking about 9,600 doses 15,000 doses have been administered. 7,000 persons are fully vaccinated as of now. And the major news in the vaccination world is on May 13th. The vaccines are now available to anyone ages 12 and up. That concludes my report, unless there's any specific questions that the council members may have.
I had one question.
Yes,
On terms of vaccinations, most of those people have been adults that have been vaccinated. So if you take out the child population that hasn't been vaccinated, or even those under 12, that comprises a lot of our population. So you can imagine that most of the adults, or at least a lot of the adults in Imperial County, have been vaccinated at this point in time, I'm thinking.
I don't have the numbers parsed out by age group, but we've seen the 65 and then the 50 and older population have been included within the vaccination schedules for quite a bit of time. I have heard from some of the clinics, whereas the beginning of our vaccination efforts, they were rushed. It was difficult to get an appointment, that there was much more demand than there was supply. Now we're seeing a little bit go in the other direction, where doses are remaining unadministered because they can't fill all the schedules. So it means that I think what you're asking is, have we addressed the majority of adults? And I think the answer is we've addressed the adults that have pursued it.
Right.
So the people that are actively after it have been able to get it if they so desire, and now we're moving down to our lower age groups.
And now they're starting walk-ins. You can walk into Vaughn's, I think, and get your vaccine, and you can have a choice of which one you want.
That
So I
is-
think that's what's going on out there.
That is accurate, as well as the Johnson & Johnson has been reapproved for administration after a study is done.
So I think it is available.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Item 6B, discussion and potential action to approve letters of support, County of Imperial federal funding request to conduct a preliminary engineering report of the New River. Backup is on pages 115 to 117.
Mayor, if I may, I knew there was one thing that I had forgotten to mention under my city manager report. I signed paperwork, PAF today, for a senior citizen center coordinator. So we'll be onboarding that person as well, and
Great.
with the senior citizen center opening as soon as possible.
Good. Very good.
Plug that as well. Thank you.
The County of Imperial has submitted a request for a community project funding to our congressional representatives at the federal level. What it involves is $650,000 so that they can conduct a preliminary engineering report of the New River. For a few years, the County Board of Supervisors has expressed the desire to the federal government to install some type of water treatment facility. I think we're all aware of that, along the New River, to improve the water quality of the polluted waterway. What this will do is allow us, the county, to conduct a PER, the preliminary engineering report, to conduct the hydraulic and water quality analysis in order to identify the recommended course of action and viable alternatives to address the issue in the New River. So they have asked for a letter of support that they could forward to our representatives at the federal level.
Discussion? I was just going to make a motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Unless there's further discussion, I'll make a motion to, for our city manager, move forward with the letter of support. I assume the mayor is going to sign.
Yep.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Thank you, Tyler. Item 7, departmental reports. Finance Encode update presented by Carla Romero, our finance director and city treasurer. +1.
+1.
Good evening again, council members. With me tonight is Sylvia Luna, our management analyst and our Encode expert. So go to the next slide, Guillermo. I think one more. So your finance department is a multifaceted department. These are some of the few things that we do. On top of that, we have a lot of internal and external customers that we service every single day. We have a lot of oversight, a lot of auditing, a lot of reporting requirements that we need to adhere to in order to secure all of the funding for the city's operations. And what we're doing is we're welcoming a new partner in crime, which is our new financial system. It's called Encode. And Sylvia is going to go ahead and give you a presentation on what we've been doing, where we're headed, and all of the new robust bells and whistles that we are so excited to have.
Nice. I almost want to say, I'll take cash flow for 200.
Right?
Use the word crime.
Hey, it's a good one, eh?
Desi gets hired. And
I know, man. Now
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah.
we're all
We're all
competing, bro.
comedians.
We're competing with you. You know what I mean? Like,
That's part of it. He's going
Everyone's
to
a
have
comedian.
to deliver the one-liners.
I know, right?
Sorry, Sylvia, go ahead.
Yeah.
Problem. Thank you, Carla, so much for that introduction. Again, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Sylvia Luna, Management Analyst from the City of Brawley Finance Department. Before starting my presentation, I really like to take the opportunity to thank you, our former finance director, now our current city manager, and I think now lead generator as well.
There you
For the opportunity of
Everyone's on board.
for the opportunity of being part of this project. he assigned me this role while he was still the finance director. So thank you for that, and also a thank you to our newest finance director, Carla Romero, for the opportunity to be here tonight. So I feel very honored. Thank you for that. Hopefully, tonight I will not be only providing just an update in regards to the INCO 10 implementation, but hopefully I will be sharing what I believe it's a story of success that truly exemplifies how our organization is embracing change and taking action to improve the way we do things, which ultimately, small or big, they highly impact the quality of services that we provide to our residents. The INCO 10 implementation initiated more or less or almost a year ago with the identification of a very much needed upgrade of our existing financial software. This one was no longer supporting the basic finance activities, and not to mention all those new federal and state regulations requirements that not only keep changing but keep increasing. As we have heard Carla all these meetings say, we just have more work, more reporting, more changes coming our way that our existing or old financial software was not being able to handle, and not to mention any other reporting needs that our departments were having or currently needing. Another good example of how this change that I'm about to explain, it's so wonderful, is the fact that the arrival of COVID. COVID, for good or for bad, changed our lives. And what the pandemic has revealed more than ever is for all organizations, regardless of the size or industry or purpose, is that we should be readily prepared to face change and proactively respond to maintain and continue operations regardless of the situation. We now know that information is one of the most valuable assets that we have to support strong decision making, and that's really the way we can really support our department heads. To talk a little bit about what we were struggling with our legacy system. Well, this legacy system, because now that's the way we call our all financial software, fund balance, was highly manual, relied on intense data entry. It required a high volume of paper usage, had very poor reporting capabilities, and well, the list of disadvantages just could go on and on. I'm a finance person, so I like to talk about all these things softwares can do. Fortunately, Encode is a different product from the same Tyler Tech company, which is highly modern and highly efficient. It's suitable for a government organization for the size of ours. INCO 10 distinguishes because if it's 100% electronic or paperless, it's also it's very automated, and it's able to handle live data. When I say live data, I'm referring that we no longer had to wait for someone to go in there and post a journal entry or post a record so we can see it on reports that we're distributing among our department heads. Now with this new software, which is INCO 10, we're able to just finish the process, and that data is going to be readily available and also highly accessible. When I say highly accessible, with our current financial software, it was only staying within finance. Now with INCO 10, we have the possibility to give access to our department heads and other proper staff members to access their general ledger, see their reports on their own. They don't have to contact a finance staff member to get their report or to ask for assistance on determining if they have budget or no. They have a available budget or not. It's not that technically it's now finance opening the doors, and I want to just clarify that it's not that we were not wanting to do that before, it's just we didn't have the way to do it. And now INCO 10 is facilitating this accessibility. INCO 10 also handles an integrated workflow. What this means is that INCO 10 has all these fantastic models, and I'm going to explain in a minute. The good thing is they all communicate within each other, so that definitely streamlines the processes, reduces the time we can see the data on a consolidated report we have without having to pull reports and combine them and use all these very fancy spreadsheets. Not to mention, I think this is one of my favorite attributes so far. It's highly flexible highly flexible, and it can be customized as much as needed to meet any reporting need or handle any type of audit processes. Well, this implementation started, as I mentioned, a year ago, and just for practical reasons, we have broken down this into 3 phases. Phase 1 consists on the implementation of the financial models. Phase 2, utility and billing models, and Phase 3, community development. As you can see, as we progress on the implementation, changes product of the implementation are going to be visible at this point in the implementation. It's only visible to finance staff, but next, hopefully in a couple of 2 or 3 weeks, our non-finance staff are going to be able to see these changes, and they're going to be able to participate as part of the INCO 10 workflow.
Nice.
Finally, Phase 3, our residents are going to be able to experience these changes product of the implementation. And what kind of changes? We're talking of, they're probably going to see a new bill form. They're going to see their bill coming through their email, automated text messages. They're probably going to see us at the window using all these fancy gadgets like barcode scanners, desktop scanners, new forms of payment coming our way. So that's going to give us tremendous flexibility. And of course, it's going to help us provide better customer services. In regards back to the financial models, right now we're finishing Phase 1. We're about to finalize Phase 1, and we are about to see a lot of interesting changes there on utility billing. Of course, this project is the product of a strong collaboration between the INCODE consultants, which are the experts, and the strong collaboration and hard work of highly committed and driven individuals that belong to the finance department, the risk personnel department over there, and our IT department. With that being said, I would like to introduce you to the INCO 10 implementation team, or how I now call them the INCODE experts. As you can see, the graph and the slide shows how this team is made up to. Leading this project is Carla Romero, our finance director. She has been key on providing guidance and direction to the entire implementation. We also have very specific leads under each of the models. We have Tony Godinez taking live general ledger, bank reconciliation, fixed assets. That's a lot. That represents a lot of work behind the scenes, and not to mention that general ledger is the heart and soul of the implementation. It all goes back to that general ledger. Then we have again Carla. Carla, it's not only leading the overall entire project, but also comes from La Quinta with as being a very experienced end user on INCO 10. And as a matter of fact, she built the next fiscal year's budget and ENCODE, and it's also taking like project accounting and ENCODE Express. Now we have Evelyn. Evelyn Perez, it's taking live, or has gone live on accounts payable and purchasing. So she's not going to be our expert in that matter, and has made some wonderful effort. And I'm very sure these are the 2 processes where our city staff is going to see the most changes. Betsy Ordóñez, our payroll expert, definitely she had a very intense implementation. Within a matter of couple of weeks, she was able to do massive cleanup, transfer data, and she's actually currently this week she's performing her second live payroll on ENCODE. The wonderful news is that we have really minor issues. Everyone has been paid. Everyone is happy. We are good. So that's good news. Shirley Bonillas. Shirley has been dedicating a lot of time for technical training. Shirley has some exciting changes as well. She's taking live new models that are related to personal management. We have the employee self-service portal. We have the benefit configuration option there too, and the employee digital files. So that's coming. It's going to be live very soon. So that's a tremendous task as well. And finally, we have Marisela Webster leading utility billing. Under utility billing, we also have Carmen and Brandy. This section, this model, it's starting configuration and during June. And right now the efforts is to complete all the technical training. So in there, it's a big applause for Brandy and Carmen. Brandy is learning 2 systems at the same time. She's brand new, but she has done an excellent job in trying to learn both at the same time and embrace the new changes. So there are also wonderful changes out there. We have at the boundaries of the team, we have Armando, our IT wizard. Armando has been with us every step of the way, making sure our network is running, our applications are well installed, and definitely has been part of this implementation, and this has helped us to really get to this point. Finally, well, you can see my name there below, just Carla, and my key role in there. Carla says I'm the glue. Others call me project manager. I don't have a name, but basically, I have been doing is coordinating schedules, making sure everyone has everything to go live. I have been with each of the go lives of the models, so just trying to connect the dots and making sure we have everything to go live. Well, implementations like this require a lot of planning, design, coordination, and endless hours of hard work and training. In particular, this training it's a domino effect implementation, and what I mean is that one model cannot go live after the other if one is not really implemented. That makes really challenging the entire implementation. To achieve this, the team has completed 8 months of an 8-month implementation just for the financial models, 436 hours of configuration, 160 hours of training completed. That's an average of 82 hours per staff member. To be honest, it sounds easier said than done. Those are only reported and track hours. Really, the work, the type of work and the amount of work done, it's way, way more than those hours. It doesn't seem fair. But they truly represent the hard work done by the finance department. And, and here we're not considering all the record verification out of those hours, after our trainings. Some trainings are at 6:30 in the morning, working weekends, long evenings, testing and failing and testing again. All done is what has been done, implementing plus completing our regular job duties without disruption. We're still paying our vendors, paying our employees, running reports, reaching out for grant reimbursements. Additionally, this implementation has been completed 100% online, remote. That means traditionally, implementations like this require an on-site consultant, a fully dedicated on-site consultant, and the team has achieved to done this over the phone, go to meetings, Zoom, phone. I don't remember what we had done, but it represents, it also means long 8 hours, 5 days in a row with a consultant over the phone. And just to tell you that these are really unprecedented efforts to drive efficiencies and change through the entire organization. I am 100% confident that this team has done an extraordinary job and is ready to support this transition and take us to a very, very new, exciting chapter in the city of Brawley.
Great. And I appreciate that comment. I think it's important for us and for the public to recognize that it is a massive effort. It is very, very challenging, and this is something that's going to put us ahead. So it's been in the works for a long time, but I'm glad that you made that comment with respect to the effort, the energy that staff is putting into it, and I do appreciate that. Thank you.
George, if I can tag along, it's funny because I wanted to say something as well, Sylvia, as you said that it's often our men and women in uniform or public safety. There's a lot of us that are kind of out in the forefront in the public, but to be able to stand up and go through these budget study sessions and have even in some cases not even questions, right? And now some might think, hey, maybe they don't understand what's going on. You know, that's actually not the case. But for you to share just what you've shared so far, to be able to stand up and celebrate a finance department in any city, I think is unprecedented from the standpoint. It is really a testament, I think, you know, the direction we're headed. So very exciting, you know, so far.
Yeah.
Don't want to digress.
Thank you. Didn't want to interrupt.
No
Compliment to you,
problem.
seriously.
With this being said, the product of all this massive effort, this is the result. As of May of 2021, our most basic financial models have gone live. They are 100% functional, not perfect, functional. Keep saying that, it's not. They're functional, not perfect. But we are, as a matter of fact, not running on the old system anymore. We are running on Inco 10. We are building our budget on Inco 10. We're paying our employees out of Inco 10. We are paying out vendors out of Inco 10. The key changes in here for these models, were models that were already existent under our old financial model. And the key change in here is that they're all gone paperless. They're 100% electronic. For example, purchasing. Now, department heads, city manager, finance director, city clerk are going to be able to approve with a click. We don't need to sign any more paper. We don't need to pass on any more paper. Many of these processes, well, not many, but a couple of them are going to be decentralized. That means that this burden of data entry is going to be pushed to the departments, not every other department, but departments that can handle it. Besides, the system is very user-friendly, so it's easy to train someone, and it's built with very, very solid internal controls. So we're very confident that's going to help us tremendously, the departments and the finance department, for sure. On the next slide, we have another set of models that right now we're still on configuration stage, but about to go live within the next 2 weeks. These models are new models. We didn't have these models in the prior system, which meant that all these tasks were prepared on spreadsheets or print reports, files, boxes and boxes of paper. So hopefully these models are going to be going to go live in 2 weeks. The plan is that by June of 2021, all of the financial models are completed. What's next? So unfortunately, once we take the models fully to be fully implemented, the job doesn't end there. I think we're just starting our job here. The interesting part of the job, that's what I think. The finance department will continue post-production trainings. That means more training, getting comfortable with the new system, to be prepared to train city staff. That's going to be part of the workflow. The finance department will continue to document and monitor new processes. And I think more importantly, something we really want to encourage and we're looking for is to collaborate with the city departments. We want to really make sure that this new system not only speaks to finance, but it speaks to every department in need of information. The ultimate goal here, just to close this line in here, is that we want to ensure our department heads are well equipped and have accessible, accurate, and ready on-time data to support from day-to-day decisions to complex decision making. Upcoming go-lives. So we're talking about phase 2 and phase 3, very exciting changes as well. Utility billing will go live the first week of July. That's going to be mainly finance, working on that model. That includes as well cashiering and miscellaneous cashiering. This is an interesting process. This is one of the processes that's going to be decentralized, and that means our parks department, police, library, and planning are going to be able to take payments. Many of those are already taking payments, but the difference is that now they're going to process the data entry. It's just going to be finance doing all the work. Business license, permitting, code enforcement are going to go live as well between the last week of June and the first week of July. There are also some exciting changes in there. Mainly, these models are being online and going to be available to our residents. And also, we're going to expand the reporting capabilities for this. Finally, we have executive time. We plan that all models should be fully implemented by the first quarter of the next fiscal year. So executive time will be probably one of the last models. Executive time relates to payroll, time and attendance. So this system, I probably not explain this one. This model, what it is going to be able to track time and attendance for all of the city staff. So this is going to communicate to payroll, which is going to reduce data entry for payroll and probably reduce 6 hours of work right there, besides of giving us flexibility to approve on time off requests, sick leave, arrange schedule for employees. So this one, it's also a little bit of a massive implementation. It at least requires 4 to 8 weeks implementation. With this, I conclude my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd gladly answer.
Sylvia, first, let me apologize for that. My phone is on silent, but the only call that goes through no matter what is my wife's call, so that she decided to call. So I apologize for that. I'm just curious, how much time will we be able to track just how more efficient staff will be, and how much money we're saving in the process? Because from what I'm listening to, this is going to free up staff to do so much other stuff, and also save us money just in paper to start.
Yes. So the interesting part in here is that now we're going to shift. I think the workload, it's there, to be honest. And I think that the shift of where we're going to apply the energy is just going to change. Instead of dedicating ourselves to do intense labor, filing papers, going from office to office, obtaining signatures, we are going to be trained to take care of all these new regulations that Carla keeps mentioning, all those reporting needs, all those projects that need tracking. I also believe that, and I'm a strong believer of this, that software can be really good, they can be fully automated, but they don't mean anything without human creativity, without human impact, without human intention. I think the finance department has now a great amount of experience and expertise with the system, and I think now we can use our energy to reach out to our departments outside the finance department and ask how we can help them to improve their internal management. How we can track savings, how do projects, because I think there's plenty of room to do those process improvements within other departments. And now, instead of spending the time filing paper and printing reports, we can use it to more added value activities. As the dollar amounts and savings, as of right now, I don't have a figure. Hopefully, with Encode, we can track for the next 1 to 3 years and see those savings, the impact of the implementation.
Where's the time?
Of course, and as long as we start detecting more and more process improvement projects, I think that's where we're really going to track the savings.
You know, I should share with you that I've had some staff members comment about you and say that you were instrumental in the implementation, and that, in fact, they described you as a rock star. So I do want to thank you for that, and then the work that not just you but the rest of the team did to implement. But they pointed you out specifically, so I do want to congratulate you on that, and thank you very much on my behalf, and I'm sure the rest of council. So, yeah.
I'll throw just one more thing on. You're really running 2 systems at the same time. That's the other thing to appreciate. It really, going through this type of migration, and like you said, it's not over, but it's such a heavy lift. I come from an organization that is in constant, change when it comes to updating things like software as a solution, and when you're migrating even something that seems relatively simple, like you said, is moving a database, there's nothing simple about it, and to be able to do what I think our entire team and department's done, and for you to lead that, really appreciate the presentation. So it's very, very encouraging and exciting.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on that. I'm looking forward to seeing it completed and everything up and running. Just be very careful with the
Make sure you
fully
pay your
automation
bills.
that you don't allow somebody to come in and hack into our systems. That would be
But a
my
good
concern.
IT
but
guy for that.
we have a good IT person.
We have an IT wizard, and also I probably didn't mention this, but Encode has a security model. So very sure we're going to put good internal controls in place to make sure every user within the city has the proper access and privileges to make sure we protect our information.
And I think it's very important that we go to the automated systems. I think it's very important that we utilize what's available. The county went through that at many different times in the times that I was working there, and we all struggled with all of it as we went through. And a lot of people don't like change, but I think change is inevitable. And so I think things have to happen. And so applaud you for what you've done and for the staffing. I know the staff, it's everybody working together that gets these jobs done. So
That's
very
right.
good.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yes, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Hold on, Sylvia.
You're
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You know, this presentation was, I got chills a couple times because some of the things you said are just so exciting to hear, and your excitement is palpable, and it's clear that you are passionate about this whole new software system, but working with finance, and
Yeah.
I think we all feel lucky and blessed to have people like you and like Carla and like some of these others that have been mentioned tonight that are all in on this project and on bringing the finance department and really all the departments
All the
into
departments.
the 21st
Yeah.
century. Finally, you know, it's mind-boggling to think of all the pen on paper work that's done in the city of Brawley, and this has been a long time in coming. I think every one of us, when we ran for city council, probably mentioned in our campaign platforms, you know, increased efficiency. I don't know exactly how we accomplished that as city council members, but I do know that when Encode was brought to us, you know, for approval, we were all in on that, and if that's all we can do to help increase the efficiencies in the finance department, I'm glad that we were able to do that. But this is going to be such a game changer for the city of Brawley, and so we are very grateful for the work that you're doing, and you're articulate. You're obviously, you know everything you're doing over there, so we appreciate having you. And again, I don't know, you know, if it's all the prayers that people are offering for the city of Brawley, but I just feel like we're so fortunate to have this team that we have right now, you know, in the middle of this, as we're coming out of this pandemic. It's going to make all the difference in the world, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, if I have a few comments.
You'd have to give your.
That's right.
As Sylvia can attest to, I have a very high standard and high expectations of staff. Sylvia has far exceeded even my expectations on this, and the whole finance department for that matter, but especially Sylvia. She's been the ramrod. I basically handed it off to Sylvia in finance and then bailed and came over across the street to be the city manager. So, and they don't let me forget that, but believe me. So, again, the public, council members, everybody needs to understand that I can't emphasize enough. The work didn't stop. We're still doing what they had to do, every day-to-day business. Everything continued to go, for the most part, smoothly, with minimal complaints from the public. They're not even aware of everything that's been going on. So, again, I can't emphasize how this team has performed. I mean, beyond my expectations, and it's a testament to Sylvia. Thank you.
Good team, yeah.
Yeah, we need more applause for that. Good deal. That's a lot of good news.
I love accolades. I mean, I think we need to recognize our staff. We need to recognize our efforts. We need to recognize our wins. I think it's so important, and we're starting to do that much more, and we need to continue to do that. And that's not blowing hot air. It's the truth. I've said it so many times in the past. It's like, recognize those wins. Talk about the quality of people that we have within the city that is doing the public's work, right? And so I think it's so important to do that. So congratulations again to the finance department and for all and IT services, of course, and for everyone that's helping change the way we do business here. So thank you all very much.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, moving on to item 8, City Treasurer Report, Quarterly Investment Summary for March 31st, 2021, presented by Carla Romero. Backup is on pages 118 to 121.
We've doubled our money.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Back again, one more. Good evening again, council members. My name is Carter Romero, Finance Director, here today to present to you our Treasurer's Report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2021. Go to the next slide. The Treasurer's Report includes all of the city funds, so all of the funds we've been talking about during our budget study sessions, all of the city accounts, meaning all of the bank accounts, LAIF accounts, any accounts that the city holds monies in are reported within this investment report. We also have all the investment transactions reported, maturity dates, different amounts of each one of the investments. These reports are subject to external audits, internal controls, and segregation of duties. And what that means is no one person handles all of the city's transactions. There are separate people that go in and put this data into our financial system and reconcile it. There's a separate person that does the bank account reconciliations. So there's a segregation of duties, and that's just to adhere to that internal controls so that there's no one point of failure or one person that controls all of the city's finances. But as your city treasurer, I am obligated to report on all of the activity and to also oversee the investments of the city. The principal goals or functions of the city's investment portfolio are first and foremost the safety of principal. And we have very highly restricted investments that we can allocate our funds to. We're not buying property, for example, or these highly lucrative investments. That is not allowed for a city government. And so I get to play with just CDs, bonds, treasuries, that kind of thing. And so that's what's included within the report.
No Bitcoin.
No Bitcoin, no, none of that. The second goal is to make sure that the city has liquidity. And what that means is cash flow. We have to do a 6-month cash flow projection and make sure that we have enough adequate funding and that funding isn't tied up in long-term investments within the investment portfolio. And then the last one is yield, or a return on investment. Of course, this is subject to economic conditions and returns and really the global market and what's happening nowadays. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple slides. Our city investments totaled $52.7 million for all of the city funds. Our quarterly interest earnings that were reported were $100,724. We did have 3 CDs that matured or redeemed investments for a total of $2.2 million. And then we had some investments that we purchased. We purchased a total of 1 CD, 2 bonds, and 2 corporate notes for a total of a little over $3 million. And you see the yields there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. I want to show you here what the yields have been. So the Treasury yields for the last 3 years and what's happening there. So March 2019, the Treasury yield was at about 2.2%, now down to 0.92%. And then the LAIF rate, which is kind of a money market account. Most government agencies have their liquid money within there. It's administered through the state of California. Used to be, back in 2019, at a 2.4%, and now down to a 0.357%. So as we leverage these investments, and all of this work really is it's still
cost us money to
done.
put it there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're kind of hitting our sweet spot in the middle there. Yeah. So we're not quite up to the treasury, but doing a great job trying to find these investments that will yield us some great returns. Again, very restricted in what we are able to find and able to invest in, but really done a great job over this last quarter trying to find the best yield possible by still living within our restricted guidelines that we have for
and we had some better
investments.
success locally, right? I mean, with local banks and things like that. But
yes, that particular CD is a local bank,
mm-hmm.
and they gave us a great rate on that, and definitely took advantage of that yield.
Yeah.
sometimes these investments come really early in the morning because, again, they're Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
And so I'm getting phone calls, sometimes 6 in the morning and emails. And you have to make investment decisions very, very rapidly and be able to administer them and figure out if they kind of flow within the portfolio and what our cash flow is going forward. Sometimes those good yields, 10 minutes later, they're gone.
Yes.
So you really need to be on top of it these days because everyone's trying to fight for every ounce of return possible. Yeah. So that really does conclude the report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have had on it.
Pretty clear.
Thank you.
I will say, Bill, when you were treasurer, I don't know that we ever got that kind of a report, that clear and concise of a report. So.
That's
cold, detail.
It was detail.
Bill's like, it's fine, it's all good.
Just, oh man, this guy.
Thank you, Carla.
I know, right?
The mayor's on time.
I think George is on a council.
He's on a good streak today.
He's on a streak, man.
George, your mentor.
You were.
He doesn't normally drink coffee.
Was.
Yeah.
No,
Did you have a bang too? Is that what it is?
Just water. Okay, item 9, city council member reports. We'll start with council member Castro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's interesting to see what's happening here. I'm super excited. I know I don't say it every time, just to save time, but I do appreciate what staff is doing. It's fantastic to see just all the changes. And I've been here a very short time, but it's exciting. It's just refreshing, right? You come in here and it's not like I'm watching what's going on around us, but particularly the cities around us. And I'm glad to be an elected council member here in the city of Brawley. So if I was somewhere else, I'd probably be considering just dragging up, man. So anyways, appreciate that. You guys are fantastic. I mentioned at the last meeting that we were reviewing some of the issues with the no bail policy that has been in effect for a while now, and a lot of consideration, a lot of folks thinking, a lot of misinformation. I did attend the Board of Supervisors meeting last Tuesday, where Sheriff Loera briefed us on exactly what was going on. We continue to work with the other cities to seek out a meeting, again, to provide guidance to our city as to how we will conduct, arrests and whatnot going forward. Of course, this is all going to be on our chief's lap as soon as we get to it. But we're just navigating and trying to get that accomplished as of now. But hopefully in the next few days we'll have an answer. I also attended, I appreciate Mayor Hamby asking me to fill in for him at the COVID memorial that was held in El Centro. I also want to thank Mayor Cheryl Walker Villegas. She's just a very nice person, very welcoming, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak in the city of El Centro. And it was very nice. And, I was saying earlier, maybe we should do something like that here in our city. It's very simple. Again, we're remembering all the fallen, and I do appreciate the opportunity to be there. And lastly, 2 Fridays from now, we'll be conducting the rededication patio area for the American Legion. We've been working on that for like 6-7 months. That is the last of it. We are electing new officers. I will be moving on from that organization. But, we have put in quite a bit of work, thanks to folks in the community who contributed volunteer labor along with, the funds. And it's turned out to be a pretty neat facility that will be available to the community for use. So you guys are all, city staff is invited, and council. Just please RSVP because it'll be catered. So we want to make sure that we have enough food. And that's it. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Wharton?
You bet. You were on the front page, too.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
memorial down there. So, super. I'll mention, and I think before that week we mentioned that we were going to attend, but I did attend the Pioneers Memorial Hospital ribbon cutting for the new cath lab opening and tours, and banner moment, I think, for the Valley, not just the city of Brawley and PMH. So if you live here, you'll hopefully never have to use that service, but if you do, you'll be very happy it's here. It's local. So big game changer there. It was a great event, and actually some even emotional comments from the CEO As you can tell, it was a 9-year tremendous effort on many people's parts to deliver something like that. So, again, congratulations to PMH, the board, the leadership there, everybody. Just this last weekend, I got to participate. I was just talking to Chief Duran, going back to his old roots, but I did, hopefully no one uses this against me, but I did participate with Team Imperial County Sheriffs. Been reserved there for a number of years, but came in 3rd place out of 21 teams, raising funds for the Imperial Valley Law Enforcement Fallen Officers Memorial. So even had the family members that usually do participate and attend that, and believe it or not, was very well attended, considering we're still kind of coming out and working through some pandemic issues. So it was a lot of fun. And then lastly, I want to point out for everyone, this is National EMS Week, and so I do want to take a moment to specifically thank those that work in the emergency medical services arena, and certainly that would involve our fire chief, and also the ambulance crews up and down the valley, including the ones that are here that serve our community. So American Medical Response, Reach Air Medical Services. Many of those, many people don't know, but that's over 100 employees, and the vast majority of them are local and live here, and all serve right alongside our fire department, as well as our fire departments all throughout the valley. So needless to say, it's been a tremendous and challenging year for those folks. So if nothing else, please, if you get a chance, if you see them out there, whether it's coffee shop, store, restaurant, or even, taking a break somewhere, or you come across, thank them in particular this week for their service. Again, we celebrate them. And Chief, if you can extend that, please, from council in recognition of that, and truly appreciate what they do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Awesome. Thank you. Councilman Nava.
Thank you. I also attended the ribbon cutting for the Cath Lab at Pioneers. Well-attended event. I was there along with Councilmember Wharton and Mayor Hamby, and certainly offered our appreciation on your behalf as well, and Councilmember Castro, Mayor Pro Tem Caltron. So that was wonderful to be out there. It's also, just on a kind of a side note, it was great to be out in public again. It's been so long since we've been able to connect and see people's faces and just enjoy the weather a little bit. Even though it's getting warmer during the day, it's still been relatively pleasant at night. And so it was a nice night. We got together and experienced something new that's been in the works for a long time. So it's great to see those services offered, and it's life-changing for many people. So that was fantastic. I also represented the city of Brawley through the annual SCAG meeting, Southern California Association of Governments, and did my part as a voting delegate. So that was, it's unusual because it is via Zoom. It's typically in person. And again, for us as elected officials, staff has their role, elected officials have our own role, right? And so a lot of what I've done over the course of time as being on council is just a lot of engagement with the public, a lot of engagement with other elected officials, and a lot of engagement with vendors, because that's where we get a lot of the input and the services that are offered, whether it be finance software, whether it be police cruisers, whatever it is, right? Those vendors come to us with, quite honestly, with solutions, right? Because they do it for communities across the country. So for me, that engagement is missing, right? And I'm hoping that comes back as well. Going back to the statement I made earlier with respect to just being able to see people in public, I hope that changes very soon. And finally, I on behalf of the city council and on behalf of my own family, I did attend the Tiny Home Project ribbon cutting event in El Centro. That is a project that, although it's not the city of Brawley, that's near and dear to me. My wife, Adriana Nava, was instrumental in writing the grant proposal for that. That was her project that she led, and it's just one of a kind in the country. And so it's just a very proud moment for me personally and for her professionally. And a lot of people were involved. I shouldn't say that she did it all, but really took the lead, and along with IVC, of course, and the city of El Centro. It's just something that's incredible that took place over the course of about 12 months. from beginning to end. It's just something that you can see, really, if you see them up close, like the units themselves, and it's helping IVC students that are homeless. And, we'll see how the project develops, but it goes to show that you can do a lot of things within a city. The planning department can do a lot of things. Engineering, public works can do a lot of things when we just focus on a project at hand, right? And so, these are tiny homes, they're on trailers, but they're grounded, and they're well accommodated. They have kitchens, washer dryer, a bedroom, restroom, shower, and so they're well equipped. And it's a nice little community. It's a nice little village, if you will. And so it's just, again, a proud moment for me personally, professionally for my wife, and for the city of El Centro and those homeless students. There was one who spoke in particular, and she talked about, it's the things that you don't think about. It's like being homeless during a pandemic, being a student, going to school, and they would say, even going to the restroom. Like when restaurants are closed, gas stations are closed, and you're not able to use the restroom, even just to use the toilet, like, what do you do? When you can't shower for 2 weeks because there isn't, like, shower access somewhere because of a pandemic, what do you do? And so it's those things that we take for granted, right? But others, they see the struggle with that, but they're still deciding to go to school. They're still wanting to advance themselves. And, you got to give somebody credit for that, because quite honestly, it could be very easy to side rail yourself and do something different, right? Whatever that may be, right? But they're persistent, and I'm hoping that helps change lives. And, it's something that will benefit future minds. It could be future leaders, future business leaders, future elected officials, future staff members, whatever they are, right? But, it's just great to see. And I hope that you get a chance just to at least drive by there. It's impressive. It really is impressive. You have to check it out. It really is impressive. So maybe it's a model that it may not be for homeless, but maybe for families that need a small occupancy units. So anyway, just a great experience overall. A lot of representation from throughout the valley was there, and I certainly represented my family, but I also represented the city of Brawley. So anyway, thank you all, and thank you staff for everything that you're doing as well. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Mayor Pro Tem Couchman.
Yes, just want to say that due to some family medical issues, I've been away from doing some of the things that I normally would have done and going to some of those events, but I do applaud everyone that was able to go, and I do applaud the events occurring. We certainly need the cath lab at the hospital. There's been a lot of the housing for the homeless students. There's a lot of little things, the COVID memorial thing, and I think we could do something similar, possibly after the 15th, June 15th, when the state opens up a little bit more. I do believe that I've missed a lot of events because of some family health issues, and so, but I plan to get back into the saddle pretty quick here, and so I plan to attend the American Legion event, and then we have to understand that Memorial Day is coming, and Memorial Day is important to my family because of the number of my family members that have been in the military, and so we look at that as a major event, and also Veterans Day, which will be coming up shortly too. Both those events are important to me and to my family in general. Other than that, I have been kind of incognito and out of town to a large extent, so I will be back involved in a lot of different activities coming up, and so we'll be involved in a lot of things happening. I think a lot of things will happen after the June time period, and I think we're going to get back into some form of normalcy. It may not be quite as normal as we'd like, but I think it's coming, and I think I can see people getting back, doing things and having outdoor functions and having indoor functions for that matter. So I can see a lot of that going on. I do applaud the city for opening up the splash pad. I think the kids need that for the summer, the pool getting back open, all of the things that we take for granted here at the city of Brawley that were available a year ago or 2 years ago that aren't available now, but are coming back available. And so I think that's all important. I salute all the things that all the staff from the city do. And so with that, that is my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Sam. As Donnie and George mentioned, attended that PMH Cath Lab ribbon cutting, got to say a few words on behalf of the city, and that is monumental, and especially through all of the opposition or the adversity that they had to face just in developing it. So it's good to have that in the city of Brawley for those that have heart issues that would otherwise have to go over the hill. Donnie, thank you for mentioning EMS week. I thought of the fact that my little boy, my 4-year-old, anytime an ambulance goes by or a fire truck, police car, anybody that's rolling code, he makes us stop whatever we're doing and say a prayer for, the patient in the vehicle and the person driving the vehicle. And it's, I think he's probably got a career in EMS of some kind because it's really near and dear to his heart.
Send him our way.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of times it's just part of the background noise and the heartbeat of the city is that, the EMS work that's done, and it really is, something that keeps us alive and well. I attended a library board meeting along with Tyler in person. That's the first one we've had in person in a long time. And I had a thought or a question about whether our Parks and Rec Commission meetings will start back up at some point, probably in the near future. But it was nice to see the ladies of the board in person. It was quite an educational meeting, as Tyler can attest to that. But it's good to have Desi on board, and we look forward to some big new things coming from the library as we open back up. I got a special gift from the Witter Elementary School for reading. I didn't even have to go in person. It was virtual still at that time, but they gave me a nice cup for reading a story to the kids.
Nice.
One day for the Read Across America. I just wanted to invite anyone that's interested. We're going to have an in-person orchestra concert on June 5th at Jimmy Cannon Theater at Southwest High School in El Centro. It's limited to 150 attendees. It's free, but you do have to reserve tickets on Eventbrite. But that's going to be the first in-person concert we've had in over a year. So the orchestra, classical music is going to be something good to see. And beyond that, what's that?
Good to hear.
Yeah, good to hear.
Yeah.
And good to see.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah. But beyond that, I just want to echo what others have said tonight. We're just so impressed with the presentations that we saw tonight, and it's just very exciting to see these massive changes that are taking place behind the scenes, really. I mean, until it's presented in public, people don't know because stuff just keeps running, and that's just very impressive. We're very thankful for that. Okay, and that wraps up the City Council member reports. We'll move on to item 10, City Attorney Report.
Just continuing to attend the City Attorney Conference. We have it 4 hours in the morning on Fridays, week after week after week.
Wow.
Fantastic.
They must think you need to.
Fun is when you go.
They must think you need to learn something.
Tuh.
I wasn't trying to.
Man, this guy today.
I don't know what's going on right here, but
wow.
Yeah. It's like number 5.
You've been hanging out with George Nava too much, brother. Calm down.
Rubbing off on you, and I don't like it.
Even I'm like, hey, tone it down, bro. You know?
Sorry, Bill. I didn't mean to be. I wasn't trying to be mean. So we'll move on to
Bill, I don't do
item 11, City Clerk Report. Almost like nothing from me. I don't
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
leave me alone.
Hey, man.
Take me off the agenda.
What
Seriously. I'm almost 6 months into this
What's in
position.
your drink, bro?
Maybe you guys are going to want to cut me off early
You
or
guys get
something.
together over the weekend or something?
Yeah.
No. All right, so we'll move on to item 12, closed session. You guys don't have to hang around for that. So.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Somebody said Brawley City Council